Let's speak live now to Sarah Morice, who can join us from London. Hi, Sarah. If I'm not mistaken, there is a church service underway behind you there, and that's to be the first of many events today to mark the anniversary of this tragedy.
That's exactly right, Andrea. The church service has been going for about 15-20 minutes now, and we've just heard the 72 names of the victims who died in the Grenfell fire read out at this service. Inside this church are the bereaved, those people who lost family members in the actual fire, also members of the community, but so many people wanted to come to this service that you might be able to see behind me there. A crowd has now spilled outside the church, and they're listening to the service on a loudspeaker. It's an incredibly emotional service, also an emotional day here in Grenfell or around Grenfell. You've got to remember that for many people, this is a really painful day, bringing up pretty painful memories. And we also have to remember it's not just an individual grief or a number of individual griefs. This is about a community that's shattered as well, and that's why really events like this church service have been so well subscribed to. And many people wearing green today. The church itself, there are green drapes right throughout it. There are green paper mache hearts that have been made, and green is the colour that has been chosen to remember, to pay tribute to those Grenfell victims. It was actually discovered or chosen just a few days after the fire by children in the area who'd lost friends in the fire, and in glorious simplicity that children have, they chose the colour green because that was the colour that was on the outside of the building before it burnt. So we are seeing not just people wearing green, but even the houses all around the community, Andrea. There are green drapes, there are green hearts, as I mentioned, stuck on houses, written tribute walls, floral tributes, and we're going to see a lot more of this today. We're expecting at the end of this service doves to be released and also green balloons, and then after that a few more events today, including a silent walk which will happen this evening, and in just a couple of minutes, perhaps half an hour from now, a minute's silence will be held right across the nation.
Okay, Sarah, there have also been some reports out today saying that at least half of the families affected in Grenfell that were living there still haven't been permanently rehoused. What can you tell us about that?
That's certainly, Andrea, that is certainly making the headlines today, and we've had a little look at the figures. What happened after the fire? And you've got to remember that Grenfell Tower, the people who lived in it were mainly social housing tenants, and there was a large immigrant community there as well. Now, they had to be rehoused, and they were promised they'd be rehoused within 3 weeks, then it was 3 months, and then it was a year. Well, we're up to a year now, and as you say, over half still don't have a permanent home. But if you look at the figures, 203 households needed rehousing. That's a big ask if you try and keep them all in the area. You've got to find 203 suitable properties. Now, the council has managed to get 135 into either permanent or temporary accommodation. Those in temporary accommodation have accepted a permanent house. It's just being renovated for them or made more suitable. But there are still 68 people who are in emergency accommodation. So they're living in a hotel, and they have been living in a hotel or a service apartment, something like that now, for a year, and that is an incredibly tough ask. At the same hand, you've got to also look at what the council is trying to do. They've spent nearly £200 million trying to rehouse these people. They've had to buy properties, they've had to renovate properties, and the one thing they're not going to do, Andrea, is force people to move into a house they don't want to move into. So it is a slow process, but it's perhaps not as malicious as the headlines may suggest.
Okay. Sarah, thanks for that clarification. Sarah Morice there, live in London.